According to CNN report, the nation's largest credit union has the most significant loan approval gap between black and white applicants among the top 50 lenders nationwide. Right. So the report, folks, calls into question the loan practices of Navy Federal Credit Union. They approved more than 75% of the white borrowers who applied for a new conventional home purchase mortgage in 2022. The findings reveal that the bank, which lends to military service members and veterans and their families, significantly denied African-American mortgage applicants more than white applicants. Now, already, there's been a huge fallout. First of all, Navy Federal Credit Union has come out and said that the CNN report is flat out wrong. They left some important information out. Attorney Ben Crump, his law firm, they announced this afternoon that they are going to be suing Navy Credit Union on behalf of 2 African Americans, and you can expect, of course, there to be more as well. This here is the press release right here. Go to my iPad, please. Of course, Ben Crump, Adam Levitt filed a lawsuit on behalf of black plaintiffs Laquita Oliver and Sherelle Jacob, who sought home loans with defendant Navy Federal Credit Union. The lawsuit alleges that Oliver and Jacob's denials for their home loans are due to Navy Federal's discriminatory lending practices. It says that Navy Federal has approximately 13 million members and more than $165 billion in assets, making it the country's largest and most dominant credit union. Joining us right now is Deborah Owens, the host of Get Wealthy on Black Star Network. Also, Kenneth Kelly, the CEO of First Independence Bank. Okay, so first, Kenneth, I want to start with you. So when we're talking about this process in terms of how determinations are made by banks or credit unions to lend, there are a variety of factors. And I've had people email me. I had some woman hit me today on Instagram saying her son was denied a car loan from Navy Federal Credit, and he had a 730 credit score. I had an individual who is a venture capitalist who hit me and said that he was denied, he said his credit score over 750, no significant debt, plus loan payment would have been less than the $1,300 lease payment. He was denied last year by Navy Federal Credit. Your thoughts?
Well, Roland, great to be with you again. It's been a while. I will tell you that, you know, sometimes we depend on systems to do the work for us. And when we do that, it misses opportunities. And so let me say, not on behalf or defense of the credit union, but the HMDA data sometimes doesn't tell the whole story. So what you're doing is helping us to investigate this story, which I think is extremely important. But let me give you just some examples, and they probably parlay into what you were just mentioning to us, which is that if someone starts an application and for some reason they don't complete the application, those numbers get counted. And so they fall into that total percentage. And it could be, show me that last W-2 that you said from the job before the one you have. And if you don't fill it out, then your loan may not end up being approved. And so my point, Roland, is that let's look at the data. Let's be sure we completely understand the data. But most importantly, what is important here is we've got differences that are very, very compelling, that some people are treated very differently. We now need to pull back the covers to investigate and understand. And so I would tell you from my perspective, I think it's important that Congress call a hearing on this topic. You know, Maxine Waters, Representative Waters, has been a strong proponent for community banks, specifically African-American owned and controlled banks like ours. And so the last thing I'm going to say before I turn it back over to you is that you know this, brother, that we're one of roughly 20 banks in the country out of 4,600 banks. This is another demonstration why you heard someone like Dr. Malvo just a moment ago say, she used the word boycott. We need to use the word of reinvigorate and look within our own community. So our community banks are important to us. My point being, everyone listening under the sound of my voice and yours, Roland, should get to know a banker and not just be a number, because we know we'll be treated differently.
77% of the mortgages from white applicants were approved, Deborah. 56% from African Americans, 48% for Latinos. And again, the Crump lawsuit, of course, looking at the CNN story, says it's the largest disparity out of all.
I mean, it's huge. I feel like here we go again, right? We're back in, what was it, 2008, and another very large bank was, when we really looked at the numbers around the mortgage implosion, you saw a lot of kind of these same disparities. I will say this, it's what people need to understand. And in fact, I did a educational series on getting a mortgage for another organization. What you have to be really clear on when you're dealing with this banks, to our other guest point, is that you need to have a relationship with a banker. But I think more importantly, as we go into the whole AI landscape, even more so than before, what we have to understand is how algorithms play a role in how credit and lending is approved. And for many people, what you have to understand when you're filling out those applications is to make sure that everything is up to date. And I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket as well. You need, as educated consumers, you need to make sure that you're getting competitive bids from a number of different banks. I think, though, that there is this, what do I want to say, concern for many people in our community about getting our credit pulled and that impacting our credit score. But we must become what do I want to say, more discriminating consumers. And to the CEO's point, is it's not about just boycotting. It is about reinvigorating the banking institutions in our own community so that we are given a fair shake.
Well, let's be clear. Let's just be clear here. I mean, the reality, Kenneth, is that not everyone is going to have access to a black bank or to a black credit union. And so, I mean, you've got people saying, wait a minute. I mean, what's the whole point of busting your butt to have a credit score above 700? The highest is 850. And then if you look up and then you actually get denied. In addition, the studies said that Navy Federal approved a higher percentage of white applicants who are making less than $62,000 a year than it did black folks who were making $140,000 a year. So here you had black folks making twice as much money than white applicants and still getting denied.
It's the same story, Brother Martin. You know this. Even on the educated side, those who have more education, who look like me and you, sometimes still make less money than those who have less education, whether you're talking about a bachelor's, a master's, and or just a plain old diploma. That's just the history of who we are. Unfortunately, I think the only way we drive change is to talk about it and to help understand what is the principle and the premise behind these causes. We know what it is, but the only way we're going to address it is to continue to talk about it. I've got to go back to, I still call her Chair Waters. She made note in her letter today exactly what you just stated. It's appalling to see that the numbers where you're talking about 140,000, 150,000 being compared to a number sub 100,000, and the approval rate is that disparate. We've got to fix that. And the only way we do that is talking more about it and having people to be held accountable for this. Now, what is unique, credit unions don't have the same oversight for community reinvestment like banks do. As you may have seen 2 weeks ago, all of the major CEOs of banks were on the Hill having a discussion with the Senate, holding them accountable. Credit unions don't have that same level of accountability. We need to fix that, because if we don't, we know what happens. African Americans are going to get treated differently. And so again, let me applaud you, Brother Martin, for doing this and having this so timely. Again, I don't know enough, and I'm not in the legalese where Attorney Crump is working on this issue. But I think there is some just cause for at least raising that issue for, nothing else, discovery.
And Deborah, folks are watching and they're like, well, damn, if I'm making twice as much money, I got a credit score that's more than 700, what in the hell if only 56% of black applicants getting approved, 77% of white applicants, what the hell am I supposed to do? And in fact, also when you talk about credit unions, I remember when I worked for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, we had an employee credit union. And when I got my vehicle, I preferred going that route because I went to the credit union, got approved. They told me exactly how much car I can get. So hell, when I went, I didn't go through all the haggling and all that nonsense with the dealership. I'd already been approved. And so folks are saying, well, damn, if I can't even do that, I mean, I'm absolutely screwed.
Well, I would say, though, here's another misnomer as well. We look at those credit scores, but when you're applying for a mortgage, the banks are not using necessarily just that FICO score. They have another whole scoring system, and what it takes into account is not just income, particularly if you're applying with a spouse, right? What many people don't know is that typically what they're going to do is they won't take the spouse with the highest credit score. They're going to base that based on the lowest credit score. Certainly some of that has to do with who's earning more. But I think what's most important, Roland, is that we understand the rules of the game and we dot our I's and cross our T's. I would say, again, my major concern is with and I think in one of the reports that came up, the algorithms are driving so much of the decisions that are being made. And so just like we had redlining when things were more, what do I want to say, hands-on. Now, what I do believe, going back to the earlier statement, is about making sure that when you're applying for that loan, that you're giving the exact information that the banks are waiting on, making sure that typically when you get closer to that loan, they're going to want an updated pay stub to make sure that nothing has changed. During the underwriting process, a lot of things can change. You want to make sure you don't take out any other credit. I mean, a number of things. Now, I'm not saying that is the reason for the disparity at all. I mean, you can just see the numbers are staggering if we look at compare them to how Hispanics were approved and how whites were approved. But I do want to raise the alarm, and I hope that our legislatures are also taking a look at how these organizations are using AI and algorithms to determine whether or not people are approved.
Well, I'll be honest with Kenneth. I think credit scores are bullshit anyway. I do. I think it's idiotic when people tell you, oh, it's not a good idea to pay your stuff off because they want to see you with a credit history. Well, hell, if I got the money, I'm paying this shit off. I'm not running around here, sitting here, walking around with no damn debt. It drives me.
Yeah, but again,
I did a whole. When I had my Washington Watch show, we did a whole. I think we did like 2 hours on how BS this is, and we had Congresswoman Maxine Waters on then, where the credit companies wouldn't even tell folks how they even come up with these numbers, how they even create whatever their algorithm is and what do they actually use with it. And again, so for me, first of all, I'm paying every damn thing off. I ain't trying to have no debt. I ain't trying to owe nobody. And so if that means that, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have a 650, well, they can all go to hell. So I think, because it's like, what I'm not about to do is sitting here going, okay, so we're gonna pay like this window right here, and we ain't doing all that, man. Just pay that. Let's move the hell on.
Well, let me just say, Roland, I have to interject. Because we have to understand.
Hold on, Deborah. Hold on, Deborah. Because I threw the question to Kenneth. Kenneth, go ahead. Then I'm going to Deborah.
Yeah, Fred. Okay. Let me jump in here, Fred. This is one that, as Dr. Deborah just said, we got to understand the rules of the game. And I would tell you from experience, you're exactly right. if you're paying off your credit cards completely monthly, etc., you can find yourself with a lower credit score than if you had some debt on your books. I'm telling you that personally. And I will tell you, I have seen individuals, back to your failing issue, who have a tremendous amount of money in the bank, but they have this small little light bill or a water bill that was late for some period of time that factors into them not getting what they desire. So my point is, Dr. Deb, just what she said is true. We got to understand those rules of the game and talk about them openly so that we're all in a better position. Let me go and shift gears for just a second. Our good dear friend, John Hope Bryant, he's built a business around this all over the country.
Yep.
Operation Hope. We actually have him in our bank now. We've had over 1,000 folks this year to come through who have actually improved their credit scores and improved their savings. So I will tell you, part of this is education. And while it's easy to say, you know what, the hell with it, we're just going to do what we're going to do, we are not in the capitalistic society if we're not playing by those rules. So that may prevent someone from being positioned to start and open the business the way they want to, with the right level of credit, with the right level of backing, et cetera.
I got you.
So again, I'm not saying it's right. Let me be clear about that, Frat. But those rules are there. And unfortunately, let me go to my last comment here. Culture shapes policy. Policy shapes economics. So if we want to help change those rules, this is the cultural setting we need to be in, Roland, talking about this issue to help drive changes in policy that don't disproportionately impact people who look like us, so that we can have brighter economic outcomes. So I'll leave it at that. But, those are the rules of the game. And so if we shape and use our culture, we can shape and change policies and shape and change economic outcomes.
All right, Deborah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Here's all I want to say, Roland, is that financial ignorance is expensive. And so we have to learn no, it's not fair. And I know that the playing field isn't level, but what I do want our viewers to understand is there are ways to play the game and win. And playing the game and winning means understanding how the FICO scoring, how it's derived, and then making sure that you align yourself so that you get the best financing rates. That's what we're talking about, is the cost of borrowing can be much more expensive if we're not able to negotiate and get the kinds of favorable terms. When you go into a 15-year mortgage or 30-year mortgage, it can be significant. And we're already seeing, with interest rates going up, people being impacted and the affordability being an issue. And so when you start to throw the difference between a 650 score or 750 score, it can make a great deal of difference. But last point I want to make is that, yes, you may not be approved by one, but you want to make sure that you don't have all your eggs in one basket, and you want to be able to negotiate.
I got you. Well, that's why I bought my last car. Well, hell, my last two. I paid for that damn thing. I'm like, I don't give a damn about no interest. I ain't trying to pay nobody back. I don't want to owe nobody. I'm driving that sucker off the lot, paid for. And I know some of my people, we love flexing, but listen, I bought my Lincoln Navigator in November of 2008. That some bitch still rides. I'm good. I'm good. I ain't trying to sit here and buy nothing. I'm going to ride it. I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off. Then I'm going to go buy something, and I'm not going to sit here and negotiate. I'm going to give them the cash and keep it moving. So get a bike or something. I don't care. All right, y'all. I appreciate it. Navy Credit did release this statement, y'all. Navy Federal Credit Union was recently included in a news story about lending practices in the mortgage industry. We care deeply about the issue and want you to know the report does not accurately reflect our lending practices and is rooted in an incomplete analysis of lending data, does not account for major criteria required by any financial institution to approve a mortgage loan. We proudly provide a higher percentage of mortgage loans to Black applicants than the vast majority of the top 50 mortgage originators nationwide. Okay, prove it. Our members put their faith in us to do right by them financially, and we stand by the promise that we are abiding by all fair lending practices. Okay, Navy Credit, Navy Federal Credit. Man up, woman up, show it. Show us. Don't just issue those statements saying, oh, it's incomplete data. Show us. And then while y'all at it, I want to know how y'all spending y'all money. Because I see a lot of y'all ads. Do y'all do business with black people? Do I see black-owned media? Do I see y'all doing other business with black companies? I'm just curious, Navy Federal Credit, because see, now y'all got that light on y'all, and as Ida B. Wells Barnett says, oh, when you hit the light on darkness, the truth shall come out. That's a paraphrase, but now we'll see what they're going to do. And trust me, when you get hit with a lawsuit, last thing they want are depositions.